The stars had never seemed so threatening until today. Colonel Jiho Kang stood in the control room of Earth's Orbital Defense Network in Geneva, staring at the screens that showed something impossible. 300 alien warships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, and they were moving toward Earth. Jiho's hands shook as he reached for the communication panel. He had trained for this moment his entire career. But training and reality were very different things. He connected to Admiral Selman Park, the commander of Earth's Space Defense Force. Her face appeared on the screen, and even through the video feed, Jiho could see the fear in her eyes. "How many ships do we have?" Jiho asked, though he already knew the answer. 27, Selman replied quietly. "Most of them are old mining vessels we converted into warships. We were never ready for something like this." The alien fleet was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Their ships were sleek and dark, covered in what looked like black metal that absorbed light. They moved through space with perfect formation, showing military discipline that took centuries to develop. Earth had barely managed to send people to Mars. These aliens had conquered the stars. A message came through on all frequencies. The translation software struggled with the alien language, but the meaning was clear enough. "Surrender or be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond." In the presidential bunker deep beneath the Swiss mountains, President Hyunwoo Nam gathered his advisors. The room was crowded with generals, scientists, and political leaders from every nation on Earth. For the first time in human history, old conflicts meant nothing. Chinese, American, Russian, Indian, African, and European leaders all shared the same terrified expression. "Can we negotiate?" someone asked. Salman's voice came through the speakers. "Sir, they're not interested in talking. Our linguist analyzed their message. The translation is more accurate than we first thought. It's not a request for surrender. It's a formality before they attack. They're going to hit us no matter what we say." Hyunwoo felt the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on his shoulders. He thought about his wife and son, safe in a shelter somewhere in Seoul. He thought about all the children playing in parks, all the people working in offices, all the dreams and hopes of humanity. Then he thought about bowing to aliens who treated Earth like an insect to be crushed. "No," Hyunwoo said firmly. "We don't surrender. If they want Earth, they'll have to take it from us." The hour passed. Earth sent no reply. The alien fleet opened fire. Yuna Choi was working late at her research facility in Seoul when the alarm started. She was a communications scientist, specializing in quantum data transmission. Her work was supposed to help humanity communicate better across long distances. Now those same systems were screaming warnings about incoming attacks. "Everyone to the shelters," her supervisor shouted. Yuna grabbed her phone and called her husband Taeyang. "Where are you?" "I got Nari from school," Taeyang replied, his voice tight with fear. "We're heading to the underground station now." "Where are you?" "Still at the lab." "I'm coming." "Yuna, hurry. The news says the connection died." Yuna ran toward the exit, but she could already hear the terrible sound of something massive falling through the atmosphere. The Valkyran aliens were using kinetic weapons, giant metal rods dropped from orbit that hit with the force of nuclear bombs but without the radiation. The first strike hit downtown Seoul. The research facility was 10 kilometers away, but Yuna felt the building shake like an earthquake. Glass shattered. The ceiling cracked. She dove under a desk as debris rained down around her. Around the world, the same horror repeated. New York, Mumbai, Lagos, London, Tokyo, Moscow, São Paulo. Every major city became a target. The Valkyran were thorough. They wanted to break humanity's will to fight by destroying everything humans had built. In space, Admiral Selman Park watched helplessly as her small fleet tried to intercept the enemy. Her ships were brave but outmatched. For every Valkyran warship they damaged, they lost 3 of their own vessels. The aliens had better shields, better weapons, better everything. "Pull back," Selman ordered. "Get our ships behind the moon. We can't win this fight, but we can survive it." Her tactical officer, a young lieutenant named Minji Song, refused to retreat. "Admiral, if we fall back, there's nothing between them and Earth. If we stay here, we all die and there's still nothing between them and Earth," Selman replied. "Live to fight another day, Lieutenant." "That's an order." Minji gritted her teeth but obeyed. The surviving Earthships retreated, damaged and defeated. The bombardment lasted 6 hours. When it finally stopped, Earth cities were burning. Communications were down across most of the planet. Early estimates suggested 10 million dead, with many more injured or missing. Entire neighborhoods had been reduced to rubble. Yuna survived. She crawled out of the collapsed research facility covered in dust and blood from a dozen small cuts. Seoul's skyline was unrecognizable. Buildings that had stood for decades were now just broken concrete and twisted metal. The sky was dark with smoke and debris. She found a working phone and finally reached Taeyang. He and Nari were safe in the underground shelter. Yuna cried with relief, but her tears were also for everyone who wasn't so lucky. In orbit, the Valkyran fleet regrouped. Commander Thexerol reviewed the attack results with satisfaction. The humans would surely surrender now. Every civilized species understood when they were beaten. The Valkyran had performed this same demonstration dozens of times across the galaxy. Show strength, destroy some cities, accept surrender, and incorporate the new species into the Empire. Simple and efficient. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from the planet," his communications officer reported. "Is it their surrender?" Thexerol asked. "No, sir. They're pulling survivors from the rubble. Their emergency services are coordinating rescue operations. Their military is regrouping. Sir, I don't think they're going to surrender." Thexerol couldn't believe it. "That's impossible. We just destroyed their major cities. They should be begging for mercy." "The humans are strange, sir. They're broadcasting messages to each other about resistance and fighting back. They seem angry." Thexerol dismissed the concern. "They're in shock. Give them a few days. They'll see reason and submit. We'll wait in orbit and let them think about what happens if we're forced to attack again." But in the ruins of Geneva, deep in the reinforced bunker, President Hyunwoo Nam was having a very different conversation. The surviving leaders of Earth had gathered. They were bruised, exhausted, and traumatized, but they were not broken. Colonel Jiho Kang stood at the front of the room with a damaged alien torpedo fragment on the table before him. "We recovered this from a destroyed Valkyran missile. Our engineers are already studying it. Admiral Park has confirmed that the alien fleet is waiting for our surrender. They're not pressing their attack." "That's their first mistake," Hyunwoo said quietly. A scientist named Do-hyun Lee stepped forward. He was the head of Earth's weapons development program. "Mr. President, if we can reverse engineer their technology, we might be able to fight back." "It will take time, but how much time?" Hyunwoo interrupted. "Weeks, maybe a month." "You have 2 weeks," Hyunwoo replied. "Because if we're going to fight back, we need to do it before they realize we're not surrendering." Around the table, people began to nod. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something much more dangerous. The Valkyran had wanted to break humanity's spirit with their attack. Instead, they had created 8 billion angry humans with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. In the ruins of Seoul, Yuna Choi looked at the destroyed remains of her research facility. Then she looked up at the stars where the alien fleet waited. She thought about her daughter Nari, traumatized and hiding in a shelter. She thought about all the people who died today. "They're going to regret this," she whispered to the empty sky. She was right. The underground bunker in Geneva became the heart of Earth's resistance. In the 2 days since the attack, the bunker had transformed into a command center that never slept. People worked in shifts around the clock, coordinating rescue operations, organizing refugee movements, and planning something that seemed impossible just a week ago: a counterattack against an alien empire. Admiral Soman Park looked terrible. She hadn't slept in 48 hours, surviving on coffee and determination. Her fleet was down to 18 functional ships, and most of those were barely holding together. But she stood at the tactical display with her head high, explaining the situation to the assembled leaders. "The Valkyran fleet is maintaining position at the edge of our orbital space," she said, pointing at the holographic map. "They're confident. Too confident. They think we're going to surrender any moment now." Colonel Jiho Kang stepped forward with his report. "That confidence is their weakness. While they're waiting, we've been collecting debris from their weapons. Every torpedo they fired at us, every piece of destroyed spacecraft, we've been gathering it all." He nodded to Do-hyun Lee, the chief engineer. Do-hyun was a thin man with glasses who always looked nervous, but his mind was brilliant. He touched the control panel, and images of alien technology filled the screens. "This is incredible work," Do-hyun said, his voice gaining strength as he talked about his specialty. "The Valkyran use plasma-based energy weapons and quantum shielding. Their technology is maybe 300 years ahead of ours. But here's the thing. Advanced doesn't mean impossible to understand. It just means complicated. He pulled up another image. We've already figured out the basic principles of their shield generators, and more importantly, we know how to overload them. Their shields are designed to stop big, slow attacks. They're not optimized for dealing with thousands of small, fast attacks all at once. President Hyunwoo Nam leaned forward. Can we build weapons that exploit that weakness? We're already building them, sir, Do-hyun replied with a tired smile. Every factory on Earth is now producing weapons. We've converted car factories, electronics plants, even toy manufacturers. If it has a fabrication line, we're using it. Yoona Choi entered the room carrying a data tablet. She had volunteered for the war effort immediately after making sure her family was safe. Her expertise in quantum communications was desperately needed. She looked exhausted but determined. I have something, Yoona announced. During the attack, I managed to capture some of the enemy's communication signals. I've been analyzing them. She connected her tablet to the main display. Waves of data appeared, showing the complex patterns of alien communications. The Valkyrie fleet uses a centralized command network. All their ships are connected through quantum-entangled communication nodes. It's brilliant, really. Instant communication with no lag across their entire fleet. But it has a vulnerability. Jiho understood immediately. If we can disrupt that network, their fleet loses coordination. Exactly, Yoona confirmed. I've been working with Do-hyun's team. We think we can build a jamming device that will flood their communication frequency with random noise. It won't destroy them, but it will blind them. They'll lose tactical coordination. In orbit above Earth, Commander Thexral was growing impatient. 3 days had passed since the attack and the humans still hadn't surrendered. This was unusual. Most species surrendered within hours, terrified of a second bombardment. Have they sent any messages? He asked his communications officer. Nothing directed at us, sir. But we've been monitoring their planet-wide communications. They're rebuilding, organizing. Their military forces are regrouping. Thexral laughed. Let them regroup. What can they possibly do with their primitive technology? We'll give them 1 more day. Then we'll begin phase 2 of the bombardment. That will break them. But he didn't understand humans. He didn't understand that humanity had survived ice ages and plagues, world wars and disasters. Humans were survivors. And more than that, humans were innovators who did their best work when everything seemed hopeless. Deep in the underground factories beneath Beijing, workers assembled new strike fighters. The designs were crude compared to Valkyrie ships, but they were fast and cheap to build. More importantly, they were designed for a specific purpose: swarm attacks. Captain Min Ji-song walked through the assembly line, inspecting the new fighters. She was one of Earth's best pilots, with years of experience flying defensive missions around orbital stations. Now she was training for something completely different. These don't have much armor, she commented to the chief designer. They don't need armor, the designer replied. They need speed and numbers. You're not going to fight the Valkyrie ships one-on-one. You're going to overwhelm them with quantity. Minji understood the strategy. It was risky and would cost lives, but it might work. She thought about all the people who died in the attack. Her sister had been in Mumbai when the bombardment hit. Minji would fly this mission even if the chances of survival were 0. Around the world, 3,000 pilots were training on simulators, learning how to fly the new strike fighters. They practiced formations, attack patterns, and evasive maneuvers. They learned how to coordinate attacks with hundreds of other pilots simultaneously. They were becoming a swarm. President Hyunwoo Nam watched the preparations with mixed feelings. He was sending thousands of people into a battle they might not survive. But what choice did he have? If they did nothing, the Valkyrie would eventually finish destroying Earth. At least this way they had a chance. How long until we're ready? He asked Admiral Soman Park. 2 more days, she replied. The fighters are being loaded with the new weapons. Yoona's jamming system is installed on our capital ships. The pilots are as trained as they're going to be. Sir, I won't lie to you, we're going to lose a lot of people in this attack. I know, Hyunwoo said quietly. But if we win, we save billions. That's the math of war. Do-hyun Lee made a final breakthrough on the 14th day. He had been working non-stop, barely eating or sleeping, driven by the memory of his parents who died in the Tokyo bombardment. His team had successfully integrated Valkyrie shield technology into Earth's warships. It's not perfect, Do-hyun explained to the military leaders. Our shields are weaker than theirs and they drain power quickly. But they work. Our ships can survive a few hits now instead of being destroyed instantly. Every advantage mattered. Every piece of captured technology that they could understand and replicate improved their chances. The humans were learning fast, adapting with a speed that would have shocked the Valkyren if they had been paying attention. But the Valkyren weren't paying attention. They were arrogant, comfortable in their superiority. They had defeated hundreds of species across the galaxy. These humans were just another conquest, delayed by their stubborn refusal to accept reality. On the 15th day, Admiral Salman Park assembled her fleet. 18 capital ships, recently upgraded with stolen technology and desperate engineering. 3,000 strike fighters, each carrying weapons designed to overwhelm Valkyren shields. Tens of thousands of missiles modified with reverse-engineered alien warheads. It wasn't enough to match the Valkyren fleet's raw power, but it might be enough to win through cleverness and coordination. In the command bunker, Jiho Kang ran final checks on the tactical network. Every ship, every fighter, every weapon system was connected to his coordination computer. He had helped design the attack strategy, and now he would guide it in real time. Yuna Choi sat at her station, fingers hovering over the controls for the jamming system. When she activated it, the Valkyren fleet would lose their coordination advantage. It would be chaos. Good chaos for humanity, bad chaos for the aliens. Minji Song sat in her fighter cockpit surrounded by her squadron. 3,000 pilots, 3,000 families who said goodbye that morning, not knowing if they would ever return. She checked her weapons one last time. Everything was ready. President Hyunwoo Nam gave the final authorization. Admiral Park, you may begin Operation Typhoon. Show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. Soman's voice was calm and cold. All units, this is Admiral Park. They bombed our cities. They killed our families. They thought we would surrender. Today we teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Today we show them that humanity doesn't surrender. We fight back. All ships launch! The fighters lifted off from Earth's surface by the hundreds, streaking upward through the atmosphere like a storm of metal and fire. The capital ships moved out from behind the moon, weapons charging. On every vessel, humans prepared for battle. In orbit, Valkyren sensors finally detected the movement. Commander Thexeral stared at his displays in confusion. What are they doing? He asked. Sir, they're attacking us. Thexeral couldn't believe it. Attacking with what? They barely have a fleet. Sir, we're detecting thousands of small craft. They're everywhere. By the time Thexeral understood the danger, it was too late. The human swarm was coming, and nothing in Valkyren tactical doctrine had prepared them for this. The Valkyren sensors screamed warnings, but Commander Thexeral couldn't process what he was seeing. The display showed thousands of small craft rising from Earth like a swarm of angry insects. His tactical computer kept updating the count. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 fighters. It seemed impossible. All weapons, open fire, Thexeral commanded. Destroy those primitive craft. The Valkyren warships opened fire with plasma cannons and missile batteries. The first wave of human fighters took devastating casualties. 50 fighters disappeared in the opening seconds, then 100 more. Captain Minji Song watched her tactical display as friendly icons vanished, each one representing a pilot she had trained with. Don't slow down, she shouted into the communication channel. Keep moving, stay random, don't let them target you. The human fighters scattered into chaotic patterns, each pilot flying independently but coordinating through Jiho Kang's tactical network. The Valkyren weapons were designed for large targets moving in predictable formations. These small, erratically moving fighters were much harder to hit. More fighters died, but more survived. They closed the distance rapidly, their speed surprising the Valkyren defenders. Within 3 minutes, the human swarm reached the alien fleet and began their attack run. Minji led Alpha Squadron directly into the formation. Her targeting computer locked onto a Valkyren cruiser's shield generator. Exactly where Do-hyun Lee had predicted it would be. She fired her entire missile payload in a 2-second burst. 10 modified missiles streaked toward the target. The Valkyren shields flared blue, stopping the first 3 missiles. But the 4th one overloaded the shield emitter. The remaining 6 missiles punched through, detonating against the ship's hull. The cruiser shuddered as explosions rippled across its surface. Shield generator down, Minji reported. All units concentrate fire on damaged vessels. Around the battlefield, the same scene repeated hundreds of times. Human fighters attacked in coordinated groups. overwhelming individual shield generators with focused fire. The Valkyrin ships were powerful, but they were designed to fight other capital ships, not swarms of small craft. Commander Thexral realized his mistake too late. His ships were turning too slowly, their big weapons missing the fast-moving human fighters. He tried to reorganize his fleet into a tighter defensive formation. "All ships, form up on my position," he commanded. "Activate point defense systems." That's when Unichoi struck. From her station on Earth, she activated the jamming system. A massive pulse of quantum noise flooded the Valkyrin communication frequency. On every Valkyrin ship, communication systems went haywire. The centralized command network collapsed instantly. Ships lost contact with each other. Coordinated orders became garbled nonsense. Some ships received commands to move left while others heard orders to move right. Two Valkyrin destroyers collided while trying to reposition, their shields failing under the impact. A cruiser fired its weapons at what it thought was an enemy position, but the targeting data was corrupted. The plasma blast hit a friendly vessel instead. The Valkyrin fleet descended into chaos. "Now," Admiral Soman Park commanded. "All capital ships, full assault." Earth's 18 warships charged forward from their position behind the moon. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had the advantage of coordination. Jiho Kang fed them real-time tactical data, guiding them to attack the most vulnerable Valkyrin ships. The human warships had been upgraded with stolen shield technology. When Valkyrin plasma cannons hit them, the shields held, not perfectly, but well enough. The Earth ships returned fire with their own weapons, now enhanced with reverse-engineered alien technology. Soman's flagship, the Sole Defense, targeted Commander Thexeral's command ship. The massive Valkyrin vessel was trying to restore communications, its crew scrambling to deal with the jamming. Soman didn't give them time. "All forward weapons, fire," she ordered. The Sole Defense unleashed everything: missiles, plasma bolts, kinetic rounds. The barrage hammered into the Valkyrin flagship's shields. For a moment, the shields held. Then they flickered and failed. The remaining weapons struck the hull directly, tearing through armor and destroying critical systems. Thexeral's ship shuddered violently. Emergency alarms blared throughout the bridge. His tactical officer shouted damage reports, but they were lost in the chaos. The humans were supposed to be primitive. This wasn't supposed to happen. "Retreat," Thexeral finally commanded. "All ships, retreat to hyperspace jump coordinates." But his communications were still jammed. Only half his fleet received the order. Those ships began pulling back, charging their hyperspace drives. The other half continued fighting, unaware they were supposed to withdraw. Minji-song saw the Valkyrin fleet splitting up. Some ships were fleeing while others still fought. She understood immediately that this was their chance to turn a victory into a massacre. "All fighters pursue retreating vessels," she commanded. "Don't let them escape cleanly." The human fighters chased after the withdrawing Valkyrin ships, firing missiles at their engines and shield generators. Several alien vessels lost power mid-retreat, their hyperspace drives failing. They drifted helplessly in space, unable to fight or flee. The remaining Valkyrin ships that hadn't received the retreat order found themselves surrounded and outnumbered. Human capital ships and fighters concentrated their fire, overwhelming the aliens through sheer volume of attacks. Ship after ship suffered catastrophic damage. A Valkyrin battleship tried to fight back, destroying a dozen human fighters with a sweep of its plasma cannons, but 50 more fighters immediately replaced them, attacking from all angles. The battleship's shields failed under the sustained assault. Human missiles penetrated the hull, setting off secondary explosions that tore the ship apart from inside. The battle raged for 4 hours. It was brutal and costly. Earth lost over 800 fighters and 3 capital ships. Thousands of pilots and crew died in the fighting. But the Valkyrin losses were catastrophic. When the shooting finally stopped, 114 Valkyrin warships were destroyed or crippled beyond repair. The remaining ships had fled into hyperspace, scattered and disorganized. Commander Thexeral's flagship was among the crippled vessels, drifting in space with life support barely functioning. Admiral Soman Park stood on her bridge, surveying the battlefield. Debris from destroyed ships floated everywhere. Rescue beacons blinked from damaged fighters and escape pods. Both human and Valkyrin survivors waited for help in the cold vacuum of space. "Rescue operations," Soman ordered quietly. "Recover our people first, then offer assistance to Valkyrin survivors." Her crew looked at her in surprise. They had just fought a desperate battle against these aliens. "Sir?" Her executive officer questioned. "We're not monsters," Soman replied firmly. "We fought because they attacked us. But we don't leave people to die in space. Recover the survivors. All of them." Minji Song limped her damaged fighter back toward Earth's recovery ships. Her cockpit was scorched. Several systems were offline, and she had a broken arm from when her fighter took a near miss from a plasma blast. But she was alive. Many of her friends weren't. As she approached the recovery ship, she looked back at the debris field that had been the Valkyran fleet. They had won. Against all odds, with inferior technology and desperate tactics, humanity had won. But Minji didn't feel victorious. She felt tired and sad. War wasn't glorious. It was just terrible and necessary. On Earth, celebrations erupted in the streets. People who had hidden in shelters for 2 weeks emerged to see the news. The alien fleet was defeated. Humanity had survived. Cities still lay in ruins, millions were still dead. But they had proven something important. Humans could fight back. In the command bunker, President Hyunwoo Nam watched the tactical displays with Colonel Jiho Kang. The battle was won, but both men looked worried rather than happy. "This was just one fleet," Jiho said quietly. "The Valkyran Empire has dozens more. They'll come back with more ships, and next time they'll be prepared for our tactics." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "Then we need to be prepared too. We can't just defend Earth anymore. If we want to survive, we need to take the fight to them. We need to show the Valkyran Empire that attacking Earth costs more than it's worth." Yuna Choi turned off her jamming system, exhausted. She had maintained the signal for 4 straight hours, fighting through alien countermeasures and system overloads. Her hands were shaking from fatigue. She thought about her daughter Nari, safe in a shelter. She thought about Taeyang, who had volunteered for the recovery crews searching for survivors in Seoul's ruins. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. The Valkyran Empire would return. Next time they would bring more ships, better tactics, and deadly purpose. But humanity would be ready. They had learned a valuable lesson today. When pushed to the edge of extinction, humans didn't surrender. They adapted, they innovated, and they fought back with everything they had. The Valkyran had made a terrible mistake. They had bombed Earth thinking it would break humanity's spirit. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, a species that refused to die. News of the defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The Valkyran Empire had ruled for 2 centuries, conquering species after species through displays of overwhelming force. They had never lost a fleet. Until now. In the Valkyran High Council chambers on their capital world, the mood was dark. Supreme Counselor Vexmar listened to Commander Thexerel's report with growing rage. The commander had barely escaped with his life, rescued from his crippled flagship by one of the retreating ships. "You lost 114 warships to primitives?" Vexmar's voice was ice. "How is this possible?" Thexerel looked broken. "They adapted to our technology. They used tactics we've never encountered. Swarm attacks, communication jamming, coordinated strikes. Counselor, these humans are not like other species we've conquered. They're dangerous." "Then we will show them what happens to dangerous species," Vexmar replied coldly. "Authorize full military response. 10 fleets. 3,000 warships. Completely destroy the human homeworld. Leave nothing alive." The order went out across the Empire. The Valkyran military began assembling the largest invasion force in their history. It would take months to gather, but when it arrived at Earth, the humans would face extinction. But Earth wasn't waiting for the next attack. President Hyunwoo Nam stood before the United Earth Assembly, addressing leaders from every nation. "The Valkyran Empire thinks we'll sit here and wait for them to come back. They're wrong. For the first time in human history, we have the technology to leave our solar system. We're going to use it." Engineer Do-Hyun Lee had achieved something remarkable. Working with recovered Valkyran technology and human ingenuity, his team had built functional hyperspace drives. They weren't as efficient as alien models, but they worked. Humanity could now travel to the stars. Operation Prometheus, Admiral Soman Park explained to her assembled officers. "We're not going to wait for the Valkyran to come to us. We're going to take the war to them. Show them that attacking Earth has consequences." The Earth shipyards worked at full capacity, building humanity's first true interstellar warships, 50 new vessels, each one combining human and Valkyran technology. They weren't as large as Valkyran capital ships, but they were fast and heavily armed. Captain Minji Song, now promoted to squadron commander, trained the new generation of pilots. Her arm had healed, but the memories of the battle hadn't. She channeled that pain into making sure her pilots were ready. Yuna Choi joined the expeditionary fleet as chief of electronic warfare. Her husband Taeyang had died in the aftermath of the first attack, killed during rescue operations when a damaged building collapsed. Her daughter Nari lived with relatives now. Yuna had nothing left except her work and her anger. She had developed a new weapon, a computer virus designed to infiltrate Valkyran systems. She was eager to test it. The first expeditionary fleet departed Earth 3 months after the battle. 50 warships, 2,000 fighters, and 15,000 crew members. Their target was Vexus Prime, a Valkyran mining colony on the edge of their territory. The journey through hyperspace took 2 weeks. When the human fleet emerged in the Vexus system, the local garrison was completely unprepared. 20 Valkyran warships guarded the colony, but they expected no threats deep in their own space. Admiral Soman Park didn't hesitate. All units attack formation. Captain Song launch fighters. Minji led her squadrons in the opening strike. They had learned from the first battle, refined their tactics, practiced until every movement was perfect. The Valkyran garrison ships detected them too late. The human fighters struck like lightning, targeting shield generators with precision. Yuna's electronic warfare suite activated, pumping the virus into the Valkyran communication network. Within minutes, the virus spread through the enemy ship's computers. The garrison commander watched in horror as his systems went haywire. Navigation failed. Weapons locked up. Even basic communication stopped working. His ships were paralyzed. "What's happening?" he shouted at his technical crew. "Sir, we're being hacked. Something is in our systems. It's everywhere." Colonel Jiho Kang, now serving as tactical officer aboard Soman's flagship, coordinated the assault with cold precision. Target their orbital defense platforms. Disable, don't destroy. We want to minimize civilian casualties. The human warships moved in, their weapons targeting military installations with surgical accuracy. This wasn't the desperate fight above Earth. This was a professional military operation against an unprepared enemy. The Valkyran garrison commander realized he was beaten. His ships were disabled, his defenses were down, and the humans showed no sign of slowing. He transmitted a surrender signal. Admiral Soman accepted. "Cease fire. All units hold position." The battle for Vexus Prime lasted 3 hours. The Valkyran garrison surrendered with minimal casualties on both sides. The human fleet secured the orbital space while broadcasting a message to the colony below. Yuna had written the message herself. It was translated into Valkyran language and transmitted on all frequencies. "People of Vexus Prime, we are not here to conquer you. We are not here to kill you. We are here to send a message to your empire. They attacked our world without warning. They killed our families. Tell your leaders, leave Earth alone or we will bring this war to every Valkyran system. We don't want to fight you, but we will if we must." The message spread across the colony. Valkyran civilians watched in shock as human ships orbited their world. These were supposed to be primitives, barely capable of spaceflight. How were they here deep in Valkyran space? Before the High Council could organize a response, humanity struck again. The human fleet split into smaller groups, each targeting a different colony. Within 1 week, 5 Valkyran systems fell to human attacks, not destroyed but neutralized. Military installations disabled, garrisons captured, populations left unharmed. Each time, the same message was broadcast. Each time, the humans demonstrated they could strike deep into Valkyran territory whenever they wanted. The galaxy watched in amazement. Other species, many of whom had suffered under Valkyran conquest, whispered among themselves. The mighty Valkyran Empire was bleeding. The humans were winning. On the Valkyran capital world, Supreme Counselor Vexmar faced a crisis. His military advisors argued about strategy. Some wanted to recall all fleets to defend the core worlds. Others demanded an immediate strike on Earth before the humans grew stronger. "They're spreading our forces thin," one admiral pointed out. "Every colony needs defense now. We don't have enough ships to protect everything and assault Earth." "Then bring in reinforcements from the outer territories," Vexmar commanded. "Every available warship. We will crush these humans once and for all." But the outer territories were already in turmoil. Valkyran colony worlds were rebelling, inspired by humanity's resistance. Species that had been conquered decades ago saw their chance for freedom. The empire was fracturing from within. After her fifth successful raid, Admiral Soman Park held a strategy meeting with her officers. Colonel Jiho Kang displayed intelligence reports on the main screen. The Valkyrin are pulling ships from across their territory, Jiho explained. They're assembling a massive counterfleet. Intelligence estimates 5,000 warships all heading for a staging area near the border between our space and theirs. 5,000, Captain Minji Song repeated quietly. We can't fight that many, not even with surprise and tactics. No, Soman agreed. We can't, but we weren't trying to win the war with these raids. We were sending a message and buying time for Earth to prepare. Yuna Choi looked at the display showing the gathering Valkyrin fleet. Somewhere in that mass of warships were the people who had bombed Seoul, who had killed her husband, who had destroyed so many lives. When they come, Yuna said quietly, we need to be ready, not just to fight them, but to defeat them so completely that they never attack anyone again. Do-Hyun Lee had been working on new weapons during the expedition. He transmitted his latest designs back to Earth. These will be ready when the Valkyrin fleet arrives. Advanced shield disruptors, improved missiles, new point defense systems. We're learning from every engagement. President Hyun Woo Nam received regular updates from the expeditionary fleet. Earth's population was working around the clock to build more ships, train more crews, develop more weapons. The planet that had nearly been destroyed was transforming into a military powerhouse. But everyone knew the real test was coming. The Valkyrin Empire would send everything they had. The final battle would determine whether humanity survived or became extinct. Admiral Soman Park gave the order to return to Earth. The expeditionary fleet had accomplished its mission. They had proven humanity could fight, could win, could strike deep into enemy territory. They had bought precious time. As the fleet entered hyperspace for the journey home, Soman looked at her officers. We showed them they can't push us around. We showed them that attacking Earth was a mistake. But the real fight is coming. When we get home, we prepare for the biggest battle in human history. The Valkyrin Empire was coming with 5,000 warships. But humanity wasn't the same species that had barely survived the first attack. They had adapted. They had learned. They had become warriors, and they were ready to show the galaxy exactly what happened when you tried to destroy humanity. Intelligence Officer Seong-ho Baek worked from a captured Valkyrin listening post at the edge of human-controlled space. His team intercepted enemy communications day and night, piecing together the Valkyrin Empire's plans. What he discovered made his blood run cold. Admiral Park, you need to see this. Seong-ho transmitted to the Fleet Command. Admiral Somin Park reviewed the intelligence data with her senior officers. The Valkyrin were assembling 5,000 warships under Supreme Commander Velkoth, their most decorated military leader. A warrior who had never lost a battle in 40 years of service. His orders were simple. Destroy the human expeditionary fleet, then proceed to Earth and glass the entire planet. They'll reach us in 3 days, Colonel Jiho Kang calculated. If we retreat to Earth, they'll follow us there and attack our homeworld. If we stay here, we're outnumbered 100 to 1. The expeditionary fleet had grown to 200 ships, including reinforcements from Earth. But 200 versus 5,000 were impossible odds. Captain Minji Song studied the tactical display. We can't win a direct fight. Even with our technology advantages, they have too many ships. One mistake and we're finished. What if we don't fight them directly? Yuna Choi suggested. She had been working on a new idea, something risky but potentially brilliant. What if we make them fight each other? Engineer Do-Hyun Lee understood immediately. Holographic projections. If we can make them think they're fighting a larger force than they actually are, they'll divide their fleet, Jiho finished. Classic divide and conquer. It was desperate and dangerous, but it might work. The team spent the next 2 days preparing. Do-Hyun's engineers built massive holographic projection systems that could create fake ships on enemy sensors. Yuna programmed communication disruption patterns. Minji organized the fighter squadrons for precise, coordinated strikes. Admiral Soman made a decision that would determine humanity's fate. We stand and fight, not because we can win, but because we have to. If they reach Earth, our families die. Everyone we love dies. We end this here. When the Valkyrin Armada arrived, Supreme Commander Velkoth expected an easy victory. His sensors showed approximately 200 human ships waiting for him. Brave but foolish. He had fought species with much larger fleets than this. All ships attack formation Delta, Velkoth commanded. Surround them. Cut off any retreat. I want every human vessel destroyed. His 5,000 warships split into 4 battle groups, each moving to encircle the human fleet. Velkoth planned to crush humanity from all sides simultaneously. It was textbook military strategy. That's when the trap was sprung. Yuna activated the holographic systems. Suddenly, Velkoth's sensors showed not 200 human ships, but 2,000. The fake vessels appeared across a wide area, looking completely real on Valkyrin scanners. What? Velkoth stared at his display in confusion. Where did all those ships come from? His tactical officer checked and rechecked the sensors. Sir, they appear to be human warships, all battle-ready. But this is impossible. They can't have built that many ships in such a short time. Velkoth made his first mistake. He believed his sensors. He divided his forces further, sending battle groups to engage the holographic fleets. The real human ships were hiding in an asteroid field nearby, powered down and silent. They waited as the Valkyrin fleet scattered across the battlefield, chasing phantom targets. Now, Admiral Soman commanded. The human fleet powered up and charged straight into the rear of the Valkyrin formation. The 200 real ships struck at the weakest point in Velkoth's scattered forces, attacking battle groups that had separated from the main fleet. Captain Minji Song led the fighter assault with surgical precision. Her pilots had trained for this exact scenario. They knew exactly which ships to hit, exactly where to strike for maximum damage. Colonel Jiho Kang's tactical computer coordinated every ship, every weapon, every movement. The human fleet moved like a single organism, striking and withdrawing before the Valkyrin could respond effectively. But the true masterstroke came from an unexpected source. President Hyunwoo Nam had been broadcasting across all Valkyrin frequencies for the past hour, speaking directly to the enemy crews. Soldiers of the Valkyrin Empire, you're being sent to die for leaders who don't care about you. We don't want to kill you. We want peace. Power down your weapons and we promise you safe passage. Continue fighting and many of you won't go home. The message repeated over and over, in perfect Valkyrin language reaching every ship in the enemy fleet. Supreme Commander Velkoth tried to counter the message. Ignore human propaganda! All ships maintain formation and engage. But something unexpected happened. Valkyrin crews began to question their orders. They had been told humans were primitive and weak. Yet here they were, deep in Valkyrin space, winning battles, striking with confidence. The propaganda didn't match reality. On one Valkyrin destroyer, the crew mutinied. They had friends who died at Vexus Prime. They had families on colony worlds the humans could now reach. Why were they fighting a war that could be avoided? Captain, we're powering down weapons, the destroyer's executive officer announced. We're not dying for this. The captain tried to stop them, but most of his crew agreed with the mutiny. They had seen what humans could do. They didn't want to be the next casualties. One ship became 5, then 20, then 100. Valkyrin vessels began breaking formation, powering down weapons, broadcasting surrender signals. The fleet was fracturing from within. Velkoth watched his grand armada fall apart. Ships refused orders. Battle groups broke formation. Some vessels even fired on ships, trying to force them back into line. Yuna chose that moment to activate her communication disruption. The Valkyrin command network collapsed completely. Velkoth couldn't communicate with his fleet anymore. Each ship was on its own, making independent decisions. The chaos was total. Human forces pressed their advantage, but Admiral Soman gave strict orders. Target only ships that are actively fighting. Any ship that surrenders or powers down, leave them alone. We're not here to massacre them. The battle, if it could still be called that, lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the mighty Valkyrin armada was destroyed as a fighting force, not because humans killed them all, but because the fleet tore itself apart. Supreme Commander Velkoth sat in his command chair, staring at the disaster around him. 3,000 of his ships had surrendered or withdrawn. The remaining 2,000 were scattered and demoralized. The humans had barely lost 50 vessels. His communication officer received a transmission from the Valkyrin High Council. Sir, the council is broadcasting. The government has fallen. Military leaders have taken control. They're suing for peace. The Valkyrin Empire was collapsing. Colony worlds were declaring independence. The military was in revolt. The High Council had been overthrown by officers who refused to continue a losing war. Velkoth transmitted his own surrender to Admiral Soman Park. 6 months later, the galaxy looked very different. The Valkyran Empire had reformed as the Valkyran Republic, a democratic government that included many former colony species. War crime trials were underway for the officials who had ordered the attack on Earth. Admiral Soman Park stood on the bridge of humanity's newest and most powerful warship. The Soul's Fury. The peace treaty was signed. Reparations were being paid. The galaxy had a new power broker, humanity. Captain Minji Song ran the new Interstellar Fighter Academy. Pilots from dozens of species came to learn human tactics. The strategy that had defeated the Valkyran Empire was now being taught across the galaxy. Engineer Do-Hyun Lee managed the new shipyards that built vessels combining technology from multiple species. Human creativity merged with alien science, creating innovations neither could achieve alone. Scientist Yuna Choi served as Earth's ambassador to the galactic community. She had helped build the memorial for the victims of the first attack, including her daughter Nari and her husband Taeyang. She worked now to ensure such attacks never happened again. Colonel Jiho Kang was promoted to general and oversaw Earth's defense forces. Humanity would never again be caught unprepared. The new doctrine was simple: peace through strength. Be ready to fight so you never have to. President Hyunwoo Nam addressed the United Earth Assembly on the anniversary of the first Valkyran attack. 1 year ago, they bombed our cities thinking we would surrender. Instead, they learned what humanity is truly capable of. They learned that we don't break under pressure. We adapt. We innovate. We fight back. He paused, looking at the assembled leaders. Today, Earth stands among the galaxy's great civilizations. We didn't achieve this through conquest or cruelty. We achieved it by refusing to surrender, by being clever when we couldn't be strong, and by showing mercy when we could have chosen revenge. Across the galaxy, other species took notice. The humans had done something remarkable. They had defeated a powerful empire not through superior numbers or technology, but through courage, creativity, and an absolute refusal to give up. There was a new rule in galactic politics now, whispered in council chambers and military academies across 1,000 worlds. It was simple but important. Don't attack Earth, because if you do, humanity won't just defend themselves. They'll come to your worlds, they'll defeat your fleets, and they'll convince your own people that fighting them was a mistake. And when humanity wins, they don't conquer. They don't enslave. They offer peace and cooperation, which somehow makes them even more dangerous than any empire. The Valkyran had learned this lesson the hard way. They bombed Earth thinking it would be easy. Instead, they created their own worst enemy, a united, determined, innovative species that refused to die. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and they were here to stay.